The sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon, painting the Thu Bon River in strokes of amber and rose. You arrive at the waterfront just as the day releases its hold, the air softening from afternoon heat into something more forgiving, more gentle. The first lanterns are being lit along the promenade, one by one, like stars awakening before their time. You pause at the river's edge, letting your breath deepen, matching the unhurried rhythm of the water. The Thu Bon moves in its ancient way, carrying reflections of clouds still touched with gold. A wooden boat drifts past, its hull weathered smooth by countless journeys, a single paper lantern hanging from its bow, like a promise of the evening to come. The boatman stands at the stern, his movements fluid and practiced, guiding his vessel with a bamboo pole that barely disturbs the surface. The air here carries stories on every current. There's jasmine, sweet and clean, mixing with the earthier scent of incense from a nearby temple. Somewhere behind you, a street vendor tends to a pot of fir, the star anise and cinnamon creating invisible ribbons of fragrance that wind through the evening air. These scents layer upon each other like silk scarves, creating something uniquely of this place, this moment where day transforms into night. More lanterns bloom to life along the waterfront, crimson ones, golden ones, some in deep indigo that seems to hold the coming darkness within their silk surfaces. Each one is lit with care by shopkeepers and restaurant owners, by families who have performed this same ritual for generations. The lanterns sway gently in the river breeze, their light not harsh but welcoming, as if each one extends a personal invitation to slow down, to breathe deeply, to simply be present in this moment. You walk slowly along the river path, feeling the smooth stones beneath your feet, worn by centuries of footsteps. Your own steps join the quiet symphony of evening sounds. Water laps gently against stone steps that lead down to the river, each small wave a whisper. Somewhere distant, a temple bell rings once, its bronze voice carrying across the water before dissolving into silence. Two elderly women sit on low stools near the water's edge, their conversation a melodic rise and fall of Vietnamese tones, punctuated by comfortable silences as they watch the boats pass. The buildings along the waterfront seem to lean toward the river, their weathered facades painted in ochre and deep yellow, colors that glow like honey in the fading light. Wooden shutters stand open to catch the evening breeze, revealing glimpses of life within. A family gathering for dinner around a low table. A tailor still bent over silk fabric. The warm flicker of oil lamps mixing with candlelight. As you continue walking, the river beside you becomes a mirror for the awakening lights. Each lantern finds its twin in the water, creating a double world of illumination. The reflections waver and stretch with each passing ripple, breaking apart and reforming in an endless, mesmerizing dance. You pause, breathing in time with this gentle movement, feeling your shoulders release tension you didn't realize they were holding. A small flotilla of fishing boats returns from the day's work, their motors puttering softly, a sound that seems to match the rhythm of your own slowing heartbeat. The fishermen call to each other in low voices, their words floating across the water like the smoke from their cigarettes, dissipating into the humid air. The temperature has found that perfect balance, where the air feels neither warm nor cool against your skin, but simply present, like silk barely noticed. The warmth from the nearest lantern touches your face, gentle as a whisper. Your breathing deepens again, drawing in the river's calm with each inhale. A vendor passes with a bicycle laden with flowers, lotus blossoms, marigolds, small white jasmine bundles. The wheels creak gently, a sound that somehow adds to rather than disturbs the peace. She calls out softly, her voice melodious and unhurried, before disappearing around a corner where the old town begins. You find yourself drawn to a small wooden pier that extends into the river. The planks are smooth beneath your hands as you steady yourself, walking to its end, where you're surrounded by water on three sides. The town glows behind you. The river stretches ahead into gathering dusk. The last direct sunlight has left the sky, replaced by a luminous blue twilight that seems to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. This is the magic hour, when the world becomes something between waking and sleeping. A boat approaches the pier, its lanterns creating pools of warm light on the dark water. The boatman nods to you, a greeting that needs no words, before continuing downstream. In his wake, the water rocks gently, and you feel the pier move slightly beneath your feet. A subtle reminder that everything here flows, everything moves, even in stillness. You breathe with this movement, letting it carry you deeper into evening's embrace. The first stars are appearing overhead, shy at first, then bolder as the sky deepens from blue to indigo. They seem to converse with the lanterns below, earthbound lights and celestial ones creating layers of illumination. Your breathing has naturally synchronized with the lapping of water against the pier posts, each breath drawing you further into this gentle rhythm. Behind you, the old town is beginning its nightly transformation. You can hear it more than see it from here. The subtle shift in energy as wooden doors open and close, as restaurants light candles on tables, as the narrow streets ready themselves for their evening performance. The sounds drift across the water like a lullaby, dishes being arranged with soft clinks, someone testing the strings of a dan bao, its single note bending through the air. Children's voices fading as they're called inside for dinner. The stone beneath your feet still holds a hint of the day's warmth, releasing it slowly into the cooling air. You turn from the river, feeling how its calm has already begun to work its way into your bones, settling into the spaces between your thoughts. The old town awaits, its lantern-lit streets promising their own quiet wonders. As you step back onto the path, the glow from a nearby silk lantern washes over you, golden and soft. The entrance to the old town is just ahead, where strings of lights create a gentle archway between the buildings. You can already smell the night market beginning. Grilled corn, fresh herbs, the sweet smoke of incense from the family altars. Your footsteps naturally slow, carrying with you the river's peaceful rhythm as you prepare to enter those glowing streets, where each lantern seems to hold a story, waiting to be discovered in the warm embrace of the Hoi An night. The narrow streets of the old town open before you like pages of an illuminated manuscript, each corner revealing another wash of golden light. Yellow ochre walls rise on either side, their surfaces weathered smooth by centuries of monsoons and gentle touches. Above, wooden shutters hang open to the evening air, framing windows where tailors bend over their work, needles catching the glow of silk lanterns that hang in clusters from every available beam. You move deeper into this labyrinth of light, your footsteps soft on stones worn smooth by countless generations. The air here is different from the riverside, closer, warmer, perfumed with sandalwood drifting from a carpenter's workshop, where shavings curl like golden ribbons on the floor. Through an open doorway, you glimpse an elderly craftsman running his palm along rosewood, testing its grain with the patience of someone who has spent a lifetime learning the language of wood. You pause, breathing in the layers of scent that define this place. Incense smoke, night-blooming jasmine, the green freshness of herbs. Your shoulders relax as the town's rhythm begins to sync with your own. Strings of paper lanterns stretch overhead between buildings, transforming alleyways into tunnels of color. Vermilion bleeding into saffron, jade green melting into deepest indigo. They sway with an almost imperceptible motion, as if the town itself is breathing slowly in the humid night. The illumination casts overlapping circles of tinted light on the ground below, and you find yourself stepping from one pool of color to another, like crossing stones in a river of radiance. A bicycle glides past, its rider balancing a bamboo pole across the handlebars, from which hang baskets of white tuberoses. The flower's perfume trails behind like an invisible ribbon, mixing with smoke from incense sticks, burning in small shrines tucked into wall niches. These tiny altars appear everywhere, some no bigger than a shoebox, others elaborate with carved dragons and offerings of fruit that gleam like jewels in candlelight. The distant murmur of the Thu Bon River threads through the evening sounds, a constant reminder of the water that has always been this town's lifeline. You feel its presence, even when hidden behind buildings, its rhythm underlying everything. From somewhere ahead comes the sound of children's laughter, bright and crystalline in the soft evening. You follow it around a corner and find them playing with spinning tops on smooth stones of a small plaza. Their parents sit nearby on low wooden stools, sipping tea from porcelain cups while keeping one eye on the games. The adults' conversation flows in the musical cadences of Vietnamese, punctuated by gentle laughter that harmonizes with bamboo flute notes drifting from an unseen courtyard. The shops lining these streets are themselves small theatres of light and shadow. In one, a seamstress works by the glow of 3 paper lanterns, her fingers moving with practiced precision as she embroiders lotus blossoms onto silk the colour of dawn. The needle flashes silver as it moves, and the silk whispers softly with each pull of thread. You watch her rhythm, steady, meditative, each stitch a small meditation. With each exhale, the town seems to settle deeper into evening. The warm air wraps around you like silk, carrying the mingled scents of star anise and cinnamon from a nearby kitchen. You pause at a corner where the street opens slightly, creating a breathing space in the dense weave of buildings. Here, a massive tamarind tree spreads its branches overhead, its leaves rustling with a sound like gentle rain. Beneath it, friends have gathered around a low table, sharing plates of banbao, the steamed buns releasing wisps of fragrant steam into the night air. Their quiet conversation mingles with the clink of ceramic against wood, creating a rhythm as soothing as a lullaby. The architecture here tells stories in every carved beam and weathered tile. Chinese influence shows in curved rooflines that sweep upward at corners like birds about to take flight. Japanese elements appear in dark wooden frames and the precise geometry of certain doorways. French colonial touches linger in shuttered windows and wrought iron balconies where bougainvillea spills over in cascades of papery magenta. Yet all these influences have melded over centuries into something uniquely Hoi An, a harmony born from gentle exchange. Your steps slow naturally as you absorb these layers of history written in wood and stone. As you continue walking, the sound of water becomes more present, though the river remains hidden. You cross a small bridge over a canal, its wooden planks worn smooth and slightly curved from age. Below, dark water carries reflections of lanterns like scattered coins of light. A wooden boat drifts beneath the bridge, its occupant using a long pole to navigate the shallow channel, with movements so fluid they seem choreographed by the water itself. The night has fully arrived now, transforming the town into a dream of itself. Electric lights have been deliberately kept dim, allowing the lanterns to maintain their ancient authority over darkness. The result is a quality of illumination that seems from another time. Soft, forgiving, turning every face into a portrait painted in warm tones of amber and rose. Textile shops display their wares even in evening hours. Bolts of silk and cotton create waterfalls of color in doorways. Emerald shot through with gold thread. Deep purple shifting to burgundy in the changing light. White so pure it seems to glow from within. The fabrics move slightly in the barely perceptible breeze, creating ripples that hypnotize the eye. The aroma of cooking draws you forward. Garlic sizzling in oil, the green scent of fresh herbs, the sweet, savory perfume of caramelizing palm sugar. Through an open courtyard gate, you glimpse a family preparing their evening meal in an outdoor kitchen. The grandmother tends a pot over charcoal, stirring with the meditative rhythm of someone who has made this dish 1,000 times. Steam rises, carrying the fundamental notes of pho that will simmer through the night. As streets begin to quiet, the town's deeper rhythms become audible. The creak of wooden shutters being drawn closed, the splash of water as someone rinses their doorstep, the soft pad of bare feet on stone as a cat slinks through shadows. These sounds layer upon each other like instruments in a gentle symphony, each contributing to the overall sense of a town settling into rest. You pause again, feeling the smooth warmth of ancient stones through your shoes, grounding yourself in this moment. The river's murmur grows slightly stronger, as if calling you toward the temple district ahead. The lanterns continue their vigil, their glow growing more prominent as other sources fade. Some are simple paper spheres in solid colors, others elaborate creations painted with dragons and phoenixes, lotus flowers and mountain peaks. Each casts its own small circle of illumination, and together they transform the town into a constellation brought to earth. The air has cooled slightly, though it remains soft and humid, wrapping around you like silk. You notice how the town seems designed for this gentle wandering, how each turn reveals something new yet familiar, how the repetition of doorways and golden pools of light creates a rhythm that slows your pace without you realizing it. This is not a place that rushes. It simply exists in its own tempo, inviting you to synchronize your breath with its ancient pulse. Ahead, the street curves toward what you sense is the heart of the old town, where the largest temples and assembly halls stand as monuments to the communities that built them. The sound of a bell, bronze and deep, rolls through the air. Not urgent, just marking time as bells have done here for centuries. The note hangs in the humid air before gradually fading, leaving only the whisper of swaying paper overhead and the eternal murmur of the river. You feel drawn toward these deeper mysteries, where incense coils spiral slowly, and the stories of many worlds converge in sacred spaces. The yellow walls around you hold stories that stretch back 5 centuries, their weathered surfaces speaking of monsoons, weathered, and merchants welcomed. You pause beside a carved wooden door, its surface worn smooth by countless hands, and feel the weight of time settling around your shoulders like warm silk. This ancient trading port has been breathing with the rhythm of commerce and culture since merchants first recognized the sheltered promise of this bend in the Thu Bon River. Above you, tiled roofs overlap in patterns that whisper their own tales. Some curve upward in the Chinese style, ceramic dragons drowsing along their edges in the humid night air. Others lie flatter in the Japanese manner, their dark tiles absorbing lantern light like pools of still water. The architecture itself breathes a quiet conversation between cultures, each building adding its voice to a dialogue that has lasted centuries. You drift past an assembly hall, where stone lions guard the entrance, their faces gentled by generations of rain. Through open doors, altar candles glow, and incense coils hang from the ceiling, spiraling slowly like frozen smoke. The air here is thick with sandalwood and memory. These halls once gathered merchants from distant provinces, the Hoi An traders, with their carp the coming dragons carved in wood, the Cantonese, with their golden scenes of abundance, now fading into softer hues. Your feet find their way to the Japanese covered bridge, its modest arch spanning the narrow canal with quiet grace. Built when the Japanese quarter needed connection to Chinese districts, it floats in the lantern light, neither purely one thing nor another, but something born of this place alone. The bridge's pagoda roof shelters a small shrine where incense burns slowly. When Japan turned inward centuries ago, the merchants who remained melted gradually into Hoi An's embrace, their children becoming threads in the town's ever-weaving story. Water laps gently against stone, drawing you along the canal where moss grows soft between ancient bricks. These waterways once carried sampans heavy with silk and cinnamon, pepper and precious aga wood. Portuguese sails appeared on the horizon, then Dutch, then French, each leaving subtle marks like thumbprints in clay. You see it in doorways built wide for foreign furniture, in blue shutters that remember Mediterranean light translated through monsoon seasons. The lanterns overhead sway in a breath of wind, their colors telling their own histories. Red speaks of Chinese New Year celebrations rooted deep in time. White honors Japanese ancestors whose names are written in water. The yellows and greens and blues between them are Hoi An's own contribution. Local festivals and family moments adding new meanings to ancient forms. You pass a temple where a monk in brown robes arranges evening offerings with infinite patience. Fruit and flowers find their places, while oil lamps cast honey-colored light through incense smoke. Here, Buddhism flows into Confucianism, Taoism into ancestor worship, all boundaries dissolved like sugar in warm tea. The painted panels on the walls show Buddhist parables alongside Confucian virtues, each story settling into the next without sharp edges. The river itself shaped this town's destiny, first bringing prosperity, then preserving it through gentle neglect. When silt filled the Thu Bon in the late 18th century, the great ships sailed instead to deeper harbors. Hoi An slipped into a sleep that would last 200 years, dreams preserving what progress might have erased. Now the old town rests under UNESCO's protective gaze. Motorcycles banished after dark, so you can hear sandals on stone. Voices carrying through courtyards where families still tend altars their great-grandparents built. A tailor works late in her shop, guiding silk beneath an antique machine's needle. The rhythm creates a heartbeat in the night, steady, patient, continuing. This craft stretches back to when Chinese silk first met Vietnamese hands, creating something new from the marriage of traditions. Scents drift through the evening, each one a thread connecting to distant times. Star anise and cinnamon recall the spice trade that first drew ships to these shores. Fish sauce carries echoes of ancient Roman garum, sought in ports half a world away. Even the jasmine perfuming the darkness has its own journey, seeds carried in the pockets of homesick sailors who needed something of beauty to remind them of home. You wander deeper into the old town's embrace. In a courtyard, 3 generations share dinner around a low table. The grandmother wears traditional ao dai, while her grandchildren dress in modern clothes. Yet all pause to light incense at the family altar before eating. This continuity, tradition and change breathing together, gives Hoi An its particular magic. The buildings themselves embody resilience, their walls patched with materials from different eras. Like mother-of-pearl inlay work that makes broken shells beautiful within dark wood, the town has absorbed every flood and conflict, transformation and liberation, making something whole from all its pieces. Each repair becomes part of the pattern, adaptation chosen over replacement. You find yourself beside the river again, where the night market has quieted to whispers. An old woman in a wooden boat sells paper lanterns, each painted with symbols of good fortune. She shows you how to light one, the small candle casting shadows through colored paper like captured sunset. When she sets it on the water, it joins dozens of others, each carrying someone's wish toward the sea. This ritual reaches back before Buddhism, before Confucianism, to older beliefs about river spirits and ancestors. The same current that brought merchants and prosperity now carries prayers and memories, connecting the living town to the vast ocean of its past. Somewhere near the water, a dan bow sings its one-stringed song. The notes bend and shimmer like heat waves, each tone containing harmonics that multiply in the humid air. This music, purely Vietnamese yet shaped by centuries of exchange, captures Hoi An's essence in sound. Standing here, watching lanterns drift like fallen stars on dark water, you feel how this town exists in multiple times at once. The stones beneath your feet knew Portuguese caravels and Chinese junks, Japanese merchants counting silver, Vietnamese fishermen mending nets. The same moon that silvers the river tonight has watched it all, patient and unchanging. The air grows heavier with night moisture, and lantern lights begin to blur at their edges like watercolors bleeding into silk. A temple bell rings once, its bronze voice carrying across the sleeping town. Hoi An settles deeper into evening rhythm, the way breath naturally slows before sleep. Your feet turn toward the river once more, drawn by the pull of water and light. The current moves with ancient patience, and in its darkness, every lantern flame doubles, one floating on the surface, one swimming in the depths below. The water holds all the lights of the town in its mirror, creating a second Hoi An that shimmers and shifts with each small wave. You lean against the warm stone of the embankment and watch this underwater constellation. Each reflected lantern seems to pulse with its own life, growing brighter, then dimmer, as the water breathes. The boundary between what floats above and what glows below begins to soften. Somewhere in that meeting of light and water, between the solid town and its liquid dream, you sense there are deeper currents to follow. Mysteries the river keeps for those who know how to look beneath the surface. The night deepens around you, and the water waits, patient as always, ready to show you what lies in its depths. The lanterns have multiplied now, strung between buildings and hung from doorways, until the entire quarter glows with their gentle radiance. You move through the streets slowly, drawn by the soft murmur of voices drifting from the direction of the Thu Bon River. The air has cooled just slightly, though it remains thick with moisture, carrying the sweetness of frangipani and the earthier notes of wet stone and moss. Your shoulders begin to release the day's tension as you walk, each step finding its own unhurried rhythm on the warm cobblestones. As you approach the waterfront, families gather along the worn stone steps that descend to the water's edge. Parents crouch beside children, helping small hands cradle paper lanterns, delicate constructions of colored paper stretched over bamboo frames, each one sheltering a single candle. The ritual unfolds quietly, almost reverently. You watch as a grandmother in a conical hat guides her grandchild's fingers, showing how to lower the lantern gently onto the water's surface, how to release it with care so the flame stays steady. The child's face glows with concentration, then wonder, as their small light begins its journey downstream. One by one, the lanterns drift away from shore, their reflections doubling in the dark water, until you cannot tell where flame ends and mirror begins. Some spin slowly in the current, others bob and weave between each other, like dancers finding their rhythm. A couple beside you whispers something you cannot understand, their words dissolving into the night as they release their lantern together, 4 hands letting go at once. The small light joins the constellation already floating downstream, each flame a wish made visible, a hope given form. You find yourself breathing deeper here by the water. the river's ancient rhythm somehow synchronizing with your own pulse. You find yourself on the Japanese-covered bridge, its weathered timbers creaking softly beneath your feet. The wood feels smooth under your palms as you rest them on the rail, worn by countless hands over centuries. From here, the view opens wide. Hundreds of lanterns now, both hanging above and floating below. The river transformed into a flowing galaxy. The bridge itself is lit by red silk lanterns that cast shadows through the wooden latticework, creating patterns that shift and breathe with each slight movement of air. Below, the water moves with ancient patience, carrying its cargo of light toward the sea. You pause here, letting the scene settle into your memory like sediment in still water. The sound of music draws your attention to the far bank. There, beneath a cluster of palm trees, a musician sits cross-legged, with a danbo resting across his lap. The instrument looks almost impossibly simple. A single string stretched over a wooden board, with a buffalo horn resonator at one end. Yet, as he plucks the string and bends the flexible rod attached to it, the note warbles and curves through the air like smoke, like water, like the very essence of longing made audible. The sound seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, vibrating through the humid air and into your chest, where it settles like a sigh. Each note hangs in the air for impossibly long moments, bending and shimmering, before finally dissolving into the night's embrace. You stand transfixed, feeling the music resonate in your bones, in the spaces between your ribs, in the quiet chambers of your heart. You descend from the bridge and follow the riverbank, passing beneath trees whose branches trail toward the water, like fingers seeking their own reflection. Paper lanterns hang here too, nestled among the leaves like exotic fruit. Some are simple spheres of white or red paper. Others are more elaborate, lotus blossoms, fish, stars, each one glowing from within with the steady patience of meditation. A gentle breeze stirs the branches, and the lanterns sway in slow, hypnotic patterns, their light playing across the surface of the river in ripples of gold and amber. The air moves differently here beneath the trees, carrying hints of river mud and flowering vines, the green smell of leaves breathing out their day's collection of sunlight. The path leads you past a small temple, its entrance guarded by stone dragons whose eyes seem to follow the dancing lights. The stone is still warm from the day's heat, radiating a gentle comfort into the cooling night. Inside, through the open doorway, you glimpse the glow of altar candles and the lazy spiral of incense smoke rising toward the ceiling. The scent drifts out to meet you, sandalwood and jasmine, ancient and comforting, with undertones of old wood and centuries of prayer. A single bell chimes somewhere within, its bronze voice adding another layer to the night's quiet symphony. You pause at the threshold, breathing in the sacred air, feeling something in your chest loosen and expand. A vendor nearby tends to a small cart, steam rising from bamboo baskets. The gentle sizzle of something cooking mingles with the night sounds, not intrusive, but part of the evening's texture. The aroma of star anise and cinnamon drifts past, mixing with the temple incense to create something entirely unique to this moment. The vendor moves with practiced quietness, aware perhaps that the night itself has become a kind of ceremony. You turn away from the river now, drawn into the maze of narrow alleys that wind through the old town. Here the crowds thin, and the festival atmosphere softens into something more intimate. Bicycles lean against yellow walls, their metal frames catching glints of lantern light like captured stars. Through an open window, you see a family gathered around a low table, sharing bowls of something steaming, their faces lit by the warm glow of a single hanging lamp. Their laughter is soft, contained, as if they too are conscious of the night's delicate mood. The scene feels eternal. This could be tonight, or 50 years ago, or 50 years from now. The alley opens unexpectedly onto a small square, where an ancient banyan tree spreads its canopy wide. Lanterns hang from its branches, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, creating a ceiling of soft light that seems to breathe with the tree itself. The bark is deeply grooved, each fold and crevice telling its own story of seasons past. Aerial roots hang like curtains, dividing the space into intimate chambers of light and shadow. Beneath the tree, a few people sit on stone benches, some in conversation, others alone with their thoughts. A cat stretches across the warm stones, utterly unconcerned with the gentle spectacle above. You pause here, feeling the air move differently in this enclosed space. Cooler, where the tree's shade has lingered even after dark. Your hand finds the trunk of the banyan, and the bark feels alive under your palm, rough and smooth in turns, warm from the day but cooling now in the night air. You breathe deeply, and the tree seems to breathe with you, its leaves whispering secrets in a language older than words. Following another narrow passage, you discover a row of tailors' shops, their windows still lit despite the late hour. Through the glass, you can see bolts of silk in every color imaginable: emerald, sapphire, sunset orange, catching the light like captured rainbows. The fabric seems to glow from within, each fold creating new depths of color. In one shop, an elderly woman works by lamplight, her needle moving in steady rhythm as she adds invisible stitches to a length of fabric. The concentration on her face is complete, meditative, as if she and the silk are engaged in a private conversation that has been going on for decades. The lamplight creates a golden pool around her hands, and you watch, mesmerized, as the needle flashes silver with each precise movement. The sound of water draws you forward, and you find yourself beside one of the small canals that thread through the town. Here, away from the main river, the water moves more slowly, almost imperceptibly, like thick silk being pulled by an invisible hand. Lotus flowers float in the shadows, their petals closed for the night but still luminous in the reflected light, pale as sleeping faces. A wooden boat rocks gently against its mooring, empty except for a single lantern hung from its prow, casting a pool of light that wavers with each tiny movement. The wood of the boat is dark with age and water, polished smooth by countless journeys. You can hear the soft lap of water against its hull, a rhythm as soothing as a mother's heartbeat. You cross a small bridge, your footsteps hollow on the wood, each sound absorbed quickly by the surrounding night. The planks give slightly under your weight, a gentle reminder of the bridge's age and patience. On the other side, you enter another quarter where the buildings press closer together, creating narrow corridors of shadow and light. The air here is thick with the scent of night-blooming jasmine, so strong it makes you pause to breathe it in fully, feeling it fill your lungs with sweetness. Somewhere nearby, someone is burning joss sticks, and the smoke mingles with the flower scent to create something entirely unique to this moment, this place. A perfume that could never be bottled, only experienced. Through an open courtyard gate you glimpse a scene of quiet beauty. A small fountain bubbles in the center, its water catching lantern light as it falls. The sound is silver and constant, like tiny bells ringing underwater. Surrounded by potted orchids and miniature trees, each carefully tended and positioned, the space feels like a meditation made visible. Lanterns hang at different heights, creating layers of light and shadow that shift gently in the barely perceptible breeze. A wooden bench sits empty, as if waiting for someone to stop and rest. The invitation is clear but unspoken, like everything else in this gentle night. The streets begin to quiet further as you walk. Shops pull their shutters closed with soft rattles of wood against wood, a sound both final and temporary. They will open again tomorrow, as they have for centuries. The voices that filled the air earlier have faded to whispers, and then to silence. Even the river sounds more distant now, its constant murmur becoming part of the night's texture, rather than a distinct sound. Your own footsteps seem louder in the growing quiet, so you slow your pace even more, matching the rhythm of the sleeping town. Each step becomes deliberate, mindful, as if you're walking through a living poem. A final turn brings you to another small temple, this one barely larger than a shrine. Its door stands open, revealing an interior lit by a single oil lamp. The flame flickers slightly, making the shadows of offerings, fruit, flowers, incense, dance against the walls. Oranges and dragon fruit rest in ceramic bowls, their colors deep and rich in the golden light. The sight is so simple, so perfectly composed, that it stops you in your tracks. Here is the heart of Hoi An's beauty, not in the grand displays of lanterns or the bustling markets, but in these quiet corners where faith and tradition continue their ancient dialogue with the night. As you stand there, the air seems to thicken around you, not oppressively but protectively, like a silk cocoon. The lanterns continue their gentle swaying. The river continues its journey to the sea, and the incense continues its slow spiral toward heaven. Everything moves in cycles here, repetitive and soothing, like a lullaby that has been sung for centuries. Your breathing has slowed to match this rhythm, deep and even, as if the town itself is teaching you how to rest. The town is preparing for sleep now, drawing its beauty inward like a flower closing its petals. You can feel the shift in the air, the way the energy settles and stills. The lanterns burn on, patient guardians of the night, but their light seems softer now, more like the glow of embers than active flames. Even the cats that prowled the alleys earlier have found their resting places, curled in doorways or beneath benches, their breathing adding to the night's quiet symphony. You realize you've been walking in a large circle, and ahead you can see a familiar sight. A quiet courtyard you passed earlier, now even more peaceful than before. The fountain still trickles its silver song, each drop a note in an endless melody. That single lantern still glows above the small altar, constant and welcoming, its light seeming to pulse gently, like a slow heartbeat. The bench beneath it seems to call to you now, offering a place to pause, to let the accumulated beauty of the night settle into your bones. The air has finally begun to cool, just enough to make the warmth of the lantern's glow feel like a blessing against your skin. Somewhere in the distance, a temple bell rings once, its bronze voice carrying across the sleeping streets. Not a call to action, but a gentle reminder that the sacred hours of rest are beginning. The sound fades slowly, reluctantly, leaving only its echo in your chest. The town breathes around you, slow and deep, already half in dreams. You move toward that welcoming light, toward that promise of rest, feeling the weight of the day beginning to lift from your shoulders like silk scarves falling away. The courtyard awaits, patient as everything else in this lantern-lit town, ready to cradle you in its gentle glow. As you approach, you notice the altar holds fresh flowers, white jasmine and pink lotus, their petals still holding drops of evening dew that catch the lamplight like tiny stars. The fountain's voice grows clearer, more intimate, as if sharing secrets meant only for those who seek rest in the deep hours of night. The courtyard reveals itself like a secret passage opening in the darkness, tucked away from the main thoroughfare where the last evening wanderers drift homeward on tired feet. A single paper lantern hangs from a weathered wooden beam overhead, its honey-colored radiance creating a perfect sphere of warmth against the cooling night. The lantern rocks gently, as if keeping time with the soft breeze that carries frangipani sweetness from gardens hidden beyond these ancient walls. You step through the narrow entrance, and the outer world's sounds fade to whispers. The courtyard floor spreads before you in smooth stones, their surfaces polished by countless footsteps across centuries, each one holding the day's warmth like a memory. Your bare feet find their way slowly across this time-worn surface, feeling how the stones release their captured heat in gentle waves, breathing it back into the tropical night. In the corner, a small fountain performs its ancient ritual. Water falls from a carved lotus blossom into a shallow basin, each drop creating circles of light that expand and vanish into stillness. The sound is hypnotic, steady as a sleeping heart. You move closer, drawn by its constancy, watching how the water's surface becomes a second lantern, trembling and reforming with each patient drop. Your breath begins to slow, matching the fountain's rhythm without thought. Against the far wall, a modest altar gleams darkly in the amber light. Coils of incense hang from brass hooks like frozen spirals of time, their shadows turning lazily with the air's movement. Smoke rises in barely visible streams, transforming into ribbons of silver and gold where it catches the lantern's glow. The scent wraps around you, sandalwood mixed with night-blooming jasmine, a fragrance that seems to thicken time itself, making each moment stretch longer, deeper. You find a low wooden bench positioned perfectly beneath the lantern, its surface worn smooth as river stones. As you settle onto it, the old wood welcomes your weight with the softest sigh, carved by some long-ago craftsman who understood how bodies need to be held. The backrest curves against your spine just so, and you feel your shoulders beginning to release, letting go of tensions you hadn't noticed carrying. Above, the lantern continues its gentle dance, Its paper skin bears delicate brushstrokes, mountains dissolving into mist, cranes flying toward distant shores. A river that might be the Thu Bon, or might be every river that ever flowed toward the sea. The flame within makes these painted scenes breathe and shift. Mountains become clouds, birds become stars, water becomes sky. You watch this slow transformation, feeling your own edges beginning to soften. The night air moves through the courtyard in warm currents, neither heavy nor light but perfectly balanced. That particular softness that comes when tropical days mellow into evening. It carries the distant voice of the Thu Bon River, a constant murmur beneath everything else, the town's own lullaby. Sometimes you catch the splash of a late oar cutting through water, or laughter floating from the riverbank. But these sounds arrive already half dissolved, gentle as the brush of silk. Through the entrance you glimpse the narrow street beyond. A bicycle glides past, its rider pedaling without urgency, the faint squeak of wheels fading like an echo of afternoon. A cat flows across the stones on silent paws, pausing to regard you with lantern-bright eyes before melting back into shadow. These small movements only deepen the quiet, each sound distinct but unhurried, woven into night's natural breathing. Your body grows heavier in the most pleasant way, sinking deeper into the bench's embrace. The wood seems to know exactly how to hold you, where to support, where to yield. Your hands rest open on your thighs, palms upward, fingers curled slightly like sleeping flowers. Even your feet feel weighted, rooted to the warm stones, connected to something older and deeper than thought. The incense continues its patient burning, coils consuming themselves in spirals that mirror the galaxy's own slow turning. You follow one particular thread of smoke as it rises, watching it curl and uncurl. Never quite the same pattern twice, always ascending toward darkness. There's something mesmerizing in its movement, how it knows exactly where to go without knowing, how it dissolves into nothing while somehow remaining everything. The fountain's voice has become your heartbeat, or perhaps your heartbeat has become the fountain. Each drop marks time in a way that has nothing to do with clocks, everything to do with the space between one breath and the next. The water in the basin grows still between drops, becoming a perfect mirror for the lantern above, holding light like a meditation. Somewhere far off, a temple bell sends its bronze note across the sleeping rooftops. The sound arrives already softened by distance, more vibration than voice, bringing with it a sense of transition, not ending but transformation. The echo spreads in ripples like the fountain's water, touching everything once, before dissolving into the courtyard's deepening peace. You realize you could remain here indefinitely, suspended in this amber moment, breathing incense-sweetened air, listening to water's endless story. No need to move or plan or remember, only to exist in this honeyed now that stretches without beginning or end. Your eyelids have grown heavy as warm stones. You let them close, still aware of the lantern's glow painting the inside of your lids with sunset colors. The sounds around you begin to merge: fountain, breeze, distant river, creating a single harmony that seems to rise from the earth's own dreaming. The courtyard holds you in its ancient calm, a vessel of peace that has sheltered countless others through countless nights. You feel yourself becoming part of its story, another soul who found this hidden sanctuary when the world grew quiet and the lanterns bloomed like flowers of light. As you drift in this space between waking and sleeping, you sense something shifting in the air. Through your closed lids, the lantern's glow seems to pulse gently, as if responding to something beyond the courtyard walls. A subtle current moves through the space, carrying the faintest hint of movement from somewhere deeper in the old town. Perhaps another courtyard, another lantern, another chamber of this endless, peaceful night. The fountain whispers its secret rhythm. The incense spirals upward toward stars you cannot see. And somewhere, as if from very far away or very deep within, you feel the night opening before you like a path made of golden light, leading onward into dreams that wait just beyond this gentle threshold.